while last night on Twitter was an example of what not to do if you cover recruiting, we're going to cover recruiting in a more holistic fashion here.
Sure.
And one of the things, we are now about a week and a half out from signing day. It's February 3rd, so mark your calendar. We'll have a lot more recruiting talk in the days and weeks to come. But for now, we wanted to take a look. We kind of took a look earlier in the week at the players.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take a look at the teams. And there are 12 FBS teams in the state of Texas, as you know. And they've all got recruiting classes that are lining up. Classes that are kind of putting together their classes. And so we figured we would look at the teams and how they're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now.
Right now.
I get to do the big caveat, right?
The huge disclaimer.
Verbal commitments are non-binding.
Yes.
People who cover recruiting are covering information that literally means nothing until February 3rd.
Yeah.
That is the truth of the matter.
Yes.
Again, verbal commitments are
Non-binding.
non-binding. A kid can change his mind at any point, at any moment, up until he puts pen to paper on February 3rd.
And as we've seen with Michigan, so can the team.
Yes, that's pretty crappy. Anyway, so we figured we would take a look at the best recruiting classes as presently constructed in the state. We'll start with some honorable mentions who don't make our top three. I like what Texas Tech has put together. Tech has put together a very nice class. It's a big class. They've already got 26 commitments, which is
a lot.
I believe the most in the state, including they've got a couple of community college kids on campus.
Yeah.
But right now, the stars of this class are TJ Vasher,
for sure,
the wide receiver from Wichita Falls Rider, who's been a star for them for a couple of years. And then they've actually done, and another wide receiver, Antoine Cox-Wesley, and Bryson Denley. You wonder how much the Cibolo Steel connection with Mike Jinks, who is now left to go become the head coach of Bowling Green.
Will that pipeline remain? Although they've got commitments for a couple of years, I think, in that group.
They have. But Antoine Cox-Wesley and Bryson Denley also heading there. But I'm also very excited about the defensive guys they've got. Because obviously that's the big question for Tech. They're always going to score.
Big hurting spot.
But Joseph Wallace, the big defensive tackle from Dallas Skyline,
big deal.
Is a big deal. So is Jordan Brooks, the linebacker from Houston Stratford. He was that Stratford defense was outrageous, and he was a big reason why.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Fields from Taylor, a small school guy that if you're into the small school type thing, he's a great catch for them. Braden Stringer, the linebacker out of Cy Ranch. Houston Miller, the defensive end from Keller. Of course, this guy, Jet Duffy, also going there. But overall, it's a big, I think, good class.
And really balanced, as Mike Craven wrote on our site. I think it's like 4 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, 4 defensive backs or something like that. So they've kind of reinforced in every area of that defense in the hopes that it will get a lot better.
And then there is also in our honorable mentions is Houston.
H-Town takeover.
And a lot of this has to do, first of all, I think they've done a remarkable job recruiting in and around the Houston and Southeast Texas area. If you look at the big guys that they've got, first of all, there's the big one,
right?
Which is Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle from Spring Westfield. He had choices to go anywhere in the state, anywhere in the nation.
And
he's staying in Houston, which is a big deal. His teammate Tyree Cleveland, the big wide receiver, is staying there as well. So is Courtney Lark, the wide receiver from Houston Bel Air. But it's a lot of the other guys from the Houston area that really catch my attention. Colin Wilder, the safety from Katy. I mean, part of a legendary defense at Katy. De'Eric King from Manville, an athlete-type guy who I'm interested to see where he lands. I don't think he's a quarterback at the next level, but he's got skills all over the field.
Never know.
Keenan Murphy, the big offensive lineman from Crosby. I know the Crosby coaches have been telling us about him for years and years and years. Dixie Wooten, the offensive lineman from Houston Lamar. It's a good class where they took guys from around their neighborhood and put together an excellent class. Those are our honorable mentions. But the top three classes right
here's
now,
where it gets
in my
juicy.
opinion.
Start with number 3.
Number 3, TCU.
All right.
TCU has a number of headliners. a number of headliners, specifically a lot of excellent community college guys.
Yeah.
They've done an excellent job cleaning up getting old quickly.
Right.
A lot of guys from there. But if you're looking for the stars on the high school level, Siwo Olanulia, I'm sorry, Siwo, you're awesome, from Kingwood. An athlete type that they could play a lot of different places. I would be interested to see if he ends up sticking at safety for them. But they've also done a good job. They've also done an excellent job of getting some guys who I think. So one of the things with TCU, let me hit the reset button.
All right.
One of the things with TCU
is
that they built themselves by being the guys who took the gems, the diamonds in the rough, and polished them.
Yeah.
The guys that everybody else was ignoring.
Right.
Well, now they can get the top tier guys. But I think what has interested me is that they're still looking for those diamonds in the rough. Right. So they've got Isaiah Chambers from Houston MacArthur, defensive end who's a star. They've got Brennan Wooten, the quarterback from San Angelo Central. But then they've got guys who I think are super interesting and could end up being the real stars here. Guys like Fort Worth Paschal athlete Dylan Thomas, who was everything to that Paschal team. Pflugerville-Henderson defensive back Keyshawn Somerville, a guy I've been high on all year. Mansfield Summit defensive back Vernon Scott. There are guys here that I think are sleepers, that they've still found a way to keep that identity of being, we're going to be the program we're going to be the program that gets those guys that nobody's paying attention to and turn them into stars. We're just also going to supplement those with the guys like Isaiah Chambers, and Darius Anderson, the George Ranch running back. They got a commitment from.
Well, and then they just got their commitment from Ross Blacklock too.
Yeah.
At the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. So those are big late commitments. The Anderson one as well.
Number 2. And to me, this is 1A and 1B really.
Yeah.
Number 2, I'm going to go with A&M.
Okay.
For all the things that have surrounded Kevin Sumlin of past years, the one thing you can never question is that he can bring in a highly touted recruiting class.
Yes.
And this looks like another one.
Yeah.
Justin Matabuke from the defensive end from McKinney North is a superstar.
Yeah.
Austin Anderson,
the
offensive lineman from Mineola, and his brother. I'm sorry. Actually, no. They don't list his brother as being. Oh, I'm sorry, Riley. Yeah, Riley. He's there. I'm sorry. I was looking for it.
It's all right.
Kellen Deesh, the offensive lineman from Byron Nelson in the Trophy Club Northwest ISD area. But they have done an excellent job. But what I'm really excited about this is that they've got offensive playmakers who I think could make an impact right away. Okay. Especially at the running back position, where they're going to be pretty thin next year.
And they've struggled the last couple.
They need running backs. Rakeem Boyd from Houston Stratford, and then Travion Williams from Houston C.E. King. Travion Williams was nowhere. He was just a guy before 2014, and then he burst onto the scene, and he is a superstar with speed to burn. I think they've got a lot of guys like that, and then a lot of kind of underrated guys. Charles Oliver from Fairfield, guy.
For sure, he's a good one.
I've been high on for quite a while. I like this class altogether. Defensively, there's some nice pieces there. Alton Robinson from Converse Judson probably stands out. Him and Matabuke.
Yeah.
Death taxes and being able to recruit pass rushers. I still want to see them pick up another linebacker. They got a linebacker from Tennessee that I'm.
Yeah.
From Tennessee. I'm not familiar with him. I'm sure he's great. But I want to see them pick up linebackers because they're still just wildly thin at linebacker. But A&M's class, as presently constructed, is at least second best in the state. If you want to say they're the best, I can't really argue with you. But for me, I think the best recruiting class in the state right now belongs to Baylor. And I think that they have been a perfect example of how you can take recent success on the field and translate it into recruiting success.
Paying off in dividends now.
Between guys who are already on campus, like Zach Smith, the quarterback from Grandview, and Trendavian Dixon, the record-setting wide receiver from Navasota.
Yeah.
And you think that he's going to get some time early? I mean, he's going to see it.
He stood out probably more than any Texas player in that Army American Bowl game.
And the other thing that you notice, and this won't be a surprise to anybody who follows Baylor, there's speed all over the field.
It's ridiculous.
Devin DuVernay might be one of the fastest players in the state. Cameron Martin, the running back from Port Arthur Memorial, is a burner.
Right.
Grayland Arnold from Kuntz. If you haven't seen him, he's a small school guy who's super underrated, and another kid who can absolutely fly. Denzel Mims from Dangerfield. Dangerfield had a bad year this year, but Mims was one of the shining stars there.
Right, and the Dixon guy we already mentioned.
Yeah, Dixon, pretty fast. Keenan Ivey from Lancaster. Raleigh Tejada from Frisco Centennial. Jared Atkinson. All these guys can straight up fly. They've got playmakers all over the field.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Defensively, they've got some guys coming in like Brandon Bowen from Byron Nelson. We mentioned Grayland Arnold. Deontay Williams, the linebacker from Plano Prestonwood. I've had people tell me that he is the real gem in this class that nobody's paying attention to.
Yeah.
But I think that overall right now, and again, verbal commitments are non-binding. But right now, I think it's either Baylor or A&M have the best recruiting class as presently constructed in the state. Now, that can change.
Yep.
Because, again, non-binding.
Nope.
But right now, I think those are 1 and 1A in some sort of regard.
Yeah.
With TCU just barely behind it and those other two.
Sure.
Houston and Texas Tech right behind that. You know what's funny? You know who we didn't mention?
No.
It's Texas. Yeah. And
how could you?
Now, we'll talk about this next week, but there are rumblings that there's a late signing day.
It's going to be a late close by Charlie. He's going to nail 4 big guys, and they'll have one of the best classes.
We'll talk about that next week. I have my doubts, but we will see.
If it happens, it'll be something else.
We will see. Absolutely.